Welcome to the Time Capsule Show, where we explore life in the 21st century through the eyes of people just like you and me. I'm Monica.
And I'm Joerenz.
And today we have podcast host and author of The Unlucky Sperm Club. You are not a victim of your circumstances, but a product of your choices, by Nelson Tressler. Welcome, Nelson. Thanks for coming on our show.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course. So can you tell us a little more about what you do? What inspired you to take on your profession?
Yeah, I've got quite the unique origin story. My mom became pregnant with me when she was 15 years old. And while she was pregnant with me, her father, who was the local trash collector in a small town, drove into the town square. There he spotted two police officers. He stuck a gun out the window and opened fire on those police officers, killing one and critically wounding another. And eventually, my grandfather was captured and brought to stand trial where he was facing the death penalty for what he had done. And during his trial, my mom got up and testified that the reason that her father had shot and killed that police officer was that that police officer had raped her, and she was now pregnant with his baby, who was me. My mom's testimony worked. The first trial ended in a hung jury. However, the second trial, my grandfather was convicted and found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, where he ended up spending the rest of his life, more than 40 years behind bars. Being born to a 15-year-old mother's hard enough, but eventually my mom met a man who would become my stepfather. Come to find out, he was an alcoholic, very physically and emotionally abusive to me and my mom. And my mom and stepfather had four children in quick succession. And because of the lifestyle that they were living, a lot of the basic needs of my siblings fell upon me as the oldest, bottle feeding, diaper changing, all those sorts of things. And that's the way my life was going, very distracted. My mom would rather me stay home from school and help her with the babies than to go to school. And I remember my last day of fourth grade, looking down at my report card, excited to see who I would have for fifth grade, and seeing that I had straight F's on my report card and that I'd be repeating the fourth grade. And the next year I got placed into special ed to try to get me the help that I could, needed. I couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't spell. Come to find out I had dyslexia. And that's where my life was. And then one day my stepfather was walking home drunk from a bar, and somebody else was driving home drunk from that bar, and they ended up hitting and killing him. And it was at this time that my mom, here she is, she's dropped out of school in the eighth grade, never worked outside of the home. She has five small children, and no matter how hard she thinks about it, she cannot figure out how she's going to be able to care for all five of us on her own. And it's at this time that she decides that she's going to take her own life, and she attempts suicide. And fortunately, she was not successful. But when she got out of the hospital, it was at that time my family got split up. And I went to go live with my grandmother, who was the wife of the man who shot and killed the police officer.
Wow, that story is, well, it's some origin story. It's really tragic to hear all that. And now you've turned that into what you have now, which is the Unlucky Sperm Club, right?
Yeah. So, for the first time when I went to go live with my grandmother, we always had food in the house for the first time. That wasn't the case when I lived with my mom. The lights always turned on. There was always heat in the winter. So I started to think about where my life was heading, and I didn't like it. And I saw kind of where I was going to end up if I continued on the route that I was going. One day a counselor came from the local university, and they started talking about what it would take to get into college. And I started to think, wow, if I could get a college degree, my life would be kind of easy from that point on. That was my mindset. And from the family that I came from, my mom had 15 brothers and sisters. Only two had ever graduated high school. None had ever gone to college. And as I was sitting there contemplating going to college, that voice in the back of your head just starts to, scream at you all the reasons you shouldn't even attempt it. And I remember thinking to myself, Nelson, you're in special ed. You can't read, you can't write, you can't spell. The family you come from, two people graduated high school, let alone none had gone to college. And I start to think, geez, I'll be lucky to graduate high school, let alone college. But I went for it. And long story short, it took me 12 years. It took me 4 universities. It took me 4 years in the Air Force on the GI Bill. But finally, I became that first person in my family to graduate from college and get a college degree. And that kind of just opened my eyes to, wow, you can do hard things if you put your mind to it and don't quit. And I ended up going into commercial real estate straight out of college. And I became obsessed with goals and personal development and started to use those in every area of my life. And over the last 20 years, I've used goals and personal development to become the top salesman worldwide for a top 5 commercial real estate firm. I've started more than 10 businesses, including one of the largest privately held pet resorts in the country. And I've been able to write the book, The Unlucky Sperm Club. You're not a victim of your circumstances, but a product of your choices. And I've exited a lot of those businesses. And then I was left with, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I saw how big of a difference goals and personal development made in my life. And that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, is to take these strategies and these techniques that I've used to design a life I couldn't have even imagined 25 or 30 years ago, to help other people use them to really design the life that they want to live. And that's when I came up with the company's 6 Months to Success and I Got Smarter, which are both apps that help people not only write great goals, but actually gives them all the tools, the knowledge, and especially the support to actually fulfill their goals.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredibly inspiring, and especially after everything that you've been through. Do you ever sort of view yourself as kind of like a superhero with an origin story?
You know what? I I know this isn't very popular out there, but I am my own biggest fan. I don't want that to sound arrogant or cocky, but I think it's necessary, because no matter how much you have support from the sidelines, no matter how loud people are screaming for you to succeed, if you're not your own biggest fan, if you don't believe in yourself, uh, it's not going to matter how much other support you have. So I definitely feel like I can accomplish anything as long as I have enough time, enough energy, and enough focus. And I think anybody can do that. I'm definitely not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm not the smartest. I still struggle from dyslexia. I probably couldn't pass an 8th grade spelling test, as I said here today. But I think, once you realize that potential that lies within you, you'll never be the same again. And I think everybody can be that way. I think when anybody who really sits down and focuses and they find their own superpower, I think we all have it. Once you realize that, and then you're determined and you don't quit and you keep going, I think we all have that origin story. Everybody's is a little bit different, but I think they all affect us the same. And if we want to use them to strengthen us and to propel us to be successful, we absolutely can. Mine's a little unique. And I think that's why I'm using it, because it is unique, but I think we all have it. And I think they all can affect us the same way. I don't think my origin story has hurt me any more than maybe other people's origin stories that aren't as dramatic. We all have them. And I think we all probably need to overcome some of that stuff, but we can all use that to propel us into our success.
That's so true. And like going back to that point you had about being your own biggest fan, especially in today's culture, a lot of kids and even adults are affected by like social media, and it's really driven a lot of anxiety, depression, lack of confidence in a lot of people to be able to accomplish things. And so that kind of like mentality, that confidence is for me, it's really admirable. And it's something a lot of people today need to not only hear, but really embed in who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, one of my favorite quotes is, a bird is not afraid to land on a branch. And the reason is the bird doesn't put its faith in the strength of that branch. The bird puts the faith in its own wings. And that's what I want to do with my program and my book, is to show people that there is great potential inside of each one of us. And what we have to do is, I think, be brave enough to go after that potential. And I think there's so much fear there. And I think we all agree that fear will kill your dreams long before failure will, right?
Mhm.
And I want to give people that uh, inspiration, that motivation to move forward with their dreams. Because I want to make this world a better place. I mean, I'm to a point in my life now that, I have 3 young boys that are going to have to grow up in this world. And I'm to the point where I want to make the world a better place. And the way that I'm going to do that is by helping other people achieve their dreams and their goals, one person and one inspiring goal at a time.
Wow, that's incredible, and that's something we should all really aspire to do. So, uh, so how do I put this? A lot of the path that you've currently taken is driven by things that have happened in your past. But let's say that maybe those parts of your past hadn't, come to fruition, and you were maybe pursuing a different path from where you're on now. What path do you think that would be, and why do you think you'd be doing it?
Well, I'd like to think that I would end up here no matter where I was. I think eventually, I think my origin story and where I came from, I mean, I definitely didn't choose this from the get-go, in developing a company to help people, achieve their life's biggest goals. I was in sales. Like I said, I was in commercial brokerage, and loved that, loved helping people find real estate and putting deals together. I love putting deals together and helping both sides. So it was a tough job because you're in the middle of negotiations and you're trying to get the deal done. So it was very tough. So I learned a lot there. And then I also love business. I love building something from nothing and really tweaking it to where I can add the most value to our clients. So I think I've done all that stuff. If I wasn't doing this, I think I'd still be in brokerage and I'd still be building other businesses uh, in different spaces, because I've had a lot of different business. I've had, pet resorts and children's daycares, and started tanning salons and, commercial rock yards. So I've done a lot of things like that. So I think I'd be in business, or definitely sales.
Definitely. So the salon bit sounds so interesting. Did you like broker the deal or did you actually like own a salon?
Yeah, I still own a tanning salon. So we built it out to where it was 24-hour access. We came up with the software and the key cards and the codes and on the tanning beds. And that was something that we were going to, kind of, I always think big. And I think that's another thing, is we should always have big, hairy, audacious goals, as some people put it. So that was one of the things that we were going to do. And then unfortunately, my partner in that business died unexpectedly. So I've kind of tabled that. We still own that salon, but now I'm focusing on I Got Smarter in 6 Months to Success in my book.
So we're now in the segment we like to call past, present, future. So how do you see yourself now compared to 5 years ago?
Uh yeah, I mean, I think I'm just a little bit closer to reaching that potential. I'm a different version of myself, and I think we all have that ability. I think as I strive to always become that better version of myself every day, you can do a lot in 5 years. So I've learned a lot from experience. I think we have all learned a lot over the last year or so in ourselves and what we can accomplish. So yeah, I'm quite a bit different than 5 years ago, and I'm sure I'll be quite a bit different 5 years from now. I think we should all always strive to continually reach our potential. I think we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our families, and we owe it to this world we live in.
So do you have like a big goal you want to accomplish in 5 years?
Yeah, I want to take I Got Smarter in 6 Months to Success to as many people as I can. I really feel like goals and this program can help change so many people's lives. And the one thing I love about goals is goals don't just change the person's lives that are accomplishing them, they change the generations to follow. That one goal changed my life, but it also changed everybody who was kind of around me, especially and including my family. The life that I was living as a young man is far different than the life that my boys are living. And that all started with one goal. And I think we all have that ability too, is creating that better version of ourselves is not only going to affect us, but it's going to affect our posterity and the generations to follow.
Yeah, that's very true. And then it's like that if people don't like, get those values out, like to help people not only adapt to the new, it's sort of like hold on to those great values from the past and then adapt to the new parts of the future that are coming about. That's how, our society pretty much degrades, how things get worse. And we always want things to continually improve and get better for the generations to come.
Yeah, and I think it depends where you get your information from. If you're looking in the wrong places, you'll see that this world is a horrible place, and we're headed for disaster and Armageddon. But if you fill your mind with good stuff, I think this world's headed for great things, and we are so blessed with the technology and the advancement in medical care and all the things that we're heading for. It's just like food in your body. If you're going to put garbage food in your body, you're going to feel miserable. And if you're looking for your information in the wrong places, I think you'll be depressed. You'll have a dimmer outlook on where this world can go and where you can go. And that's another thing with my program is we're always filling people's minds with positive things and giving gratitude for what we already have, and being surrounded by like-minded people who are looking to better themselves and become better versions of themselves, and who are there to support each other to become those better versions of ourselves.
It's so true. So, you've mentioned several times about the program. Is this program based off of the book that you wrote?
No, the book is more about me. And the reason I wanted to write the book is I wanted people to realize that uh, it's not where you start, it's where you end up. And I wanted people to realize that my program, 6 months to success and I got smarter, are not just things that I've pulled off the internet and theories that I've learned in courses and classes. It's things that I've lived, and it's strategies and techniques and philosophies that I've used over the last 25 years to come from where I started in this book to where I am today, to where I can help other people. I really pulled the curtain back on the Unlucky Sperm Club. I think people see some people who have been able to accomplish some sort of success and think that it was easy, or think that they were always that way. And I really pulled the curtain back. I mean, I talked about struggles in my personal life with my marriage, and struggles in business, and a lot of the things that are in the Unlucky Sperm Club come from the last Great Depression in 08, 09, and 10, and how I was struggling with commercial real estate there, and the businesses that I was running, and 1 or 2 months away from bankruptcy, and 1 or 2 arguments away from a divorce. And things were hard, but as long as you keep going, as long as you don't quit, as long as you put forth your effort, you can get through just about anything. And that's what the Unlucky Sperm Club is there for. Here's this kid who started under these circumstances, with his grandfather shooting and killing a police officer, to eventually, going to, having a family, having a marriage of 25 years and having a family, and being able to become the #1 salesman worldwide, and building one of the largest privately held pet resorts in the country. Like, anybody can do that. And that's what I wanted to do with my book, is to show, just keep going and motivate and inspire other people to take control of their own lives. And once you see that if one of us can do it, all of us can do it, I truly believe that. So I wanted my story to be that inspiration for other people.
Wow. So, with everything that you've learned and everything that you've experienced, what principles would you say you live your life by?
I've got 15 philosophies that we use at 6 months to success, and I got smarter. And yeah, I'll give you one of those I think has made a huge difference in my life. is that things only have the meaning that you're willing to give them. I've gone through some pretty tough times. In that origin story that I just shared with you guys, I never told anybody that outside of that small town except for my wife before I married her. Never told my kids, never told my friends, because it weakened me. I was running from it. It had caused me so much pain and suffering because of that. But then I started to think, why did I live this life? Why did I have to go through that? And I realized I lived this life and I've had success so that I could share my story. And now all of a sudden, that the same things that happened to me, the same circumstances, now they give me strength. Now I love to talk about them because I've given it a different meaning. And I think we all have that ability. If we dig deep enough and look at things from enough different angles, we can find something positive, something that we can take away from the experiences that we go through. And if we get to assign meaning to everything that happens to us in our lives, why on earth would we give anything a negative meaning? It's not going to further us. So I think look at things as hard as you can to find the positive in it, and gain something out of it.
Oh yeah, that's such a life-changing philosophy. That's something I'm gonna have to put into my own life.
It is, and it will change your life, because I mean, the subtitle on my book, The Unlucky Sperm Club, you're not a victim of your circumstances. I think there's so many people that look at that and think, well, you know what? I'm this way because of the circumstances, whatever that is, whatever somebody did to you, or the economy, or this or that. We assign our issues to somebody else outside of us. And what happens is now we need to wait for that to change. We need to wait for that person to change before we can get better. But when you take 100% responsibility for your own success, that's when things start to change, because now you're in control. Whatever you want, you're in control. Yeah, there might be some things that happen to you, but you can't control those. But what you can control is how you respond to what happens to you. And that's one of the strategies and philosophies we teach at 6 Months to Success and I Got Smarter.
Wow, that's amazing. So with everything that you've worked for in life and everything that you've accomplished that sort of created all these like great philosophies or learned all these philosophies, what would you say you're grateful for in your life?
Oh, I mean, part of our program every single day is to start off with gratitude. Having that attitude of gratitude is probably one of the greatest things that I'm thankful for, because if you don't have that attitude of gratitude, it doesn't matter what you accomplish. It doesn't matter what you bring into your life. It doesn't matter what you do. If you don't have that attitude of gratitude, you're not going to be happy. But on the other side of that, if you covet that attitude of gratitude, then it doesn't matter what's in your life. You're going to be happy. You're going to be happy for what you have. You're going to be happy for what you accomplish. Now, I'm not talking about being satisfied. I'm not talking, not striving to become your best. I'm just talking about having gratitude in all things. So I try to practice that in my life.
Yeah, I feel like that's something we especially need to practice in today's society, because a lot of people get lost in the glitz and the glamour of Hollywood and social media, or then sometimes we forget because of all of the news we might see on the TV, from politics to COVID, and people just forget about the things around them, the things that we need to be grateful for.
Yeah, no, I think evolving that gratitude, that attitude of gratitude is one of the best things that we can do. And if you're depressed, if you're, if things aren't going well for you, take a step back and start writing down all the things that you are grateful for. And I talk about that in my book, The Unlucky Sperm Club. I did that one time when we were, heading back from a trip, and my wife was taking a nap and my kids were watching a movie in the back. And I'm going to try to name all the things that I'm thankful for. And I did it for like an hour and a half, and I never ran out of things to be grateful for. And I think we all can do that. I mean, just looking around you. So yeah, if you have that mindset of gratitude, I think that will help your life tremendously.
That's incredible. All right, so now we've come to the question of the show where we get our title from. If you were to leave something in a time capsule for people to dig up 100 years later, what would you put in there and why?
You know what? A little selfishly, I'd like to put the book, The Unlucky Sperm Club, in there, and for people to just realize that things were hard back then, but that people could overcome those. Because I think that's something that no matter where we end up, no matter how much further we go along in the future, people are always going to struggle with life. And they're always going to need inspiration. They're always going to need motivation to get through. And I love looking back on ancestors and pioneers who had to struggle, and reading their stories and thinking, oh my goodness, I could have never made it through that. I'm glad I was born in this time, because walking across the plains with no shoes on, in the snow, starving, I don't know if I would have made it there. But I think they would have struggled with the things that we have to deal with in our time. So I think we all have those things, but I love to be inspired by the past. And I think my book, The Unlucky Sperm Club, would do that for people who are 100 or 200 years in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to put inside the time capsule, because it especially captures, it's like a lot of the lessons that you've gone through, especially how hard and how tragic it was. It would help a lot of like people like really feel inspiration, especially those who might be going through a similar struggle, or maybe those who are taking too deep of a look into struggles that might be a little lighter, that maybe that they can have some hope and confidence they can turn their life around and make things better for themselves.
Yeah, I think if we ever get to that point where we're feeling depressed more than we're not, I think it's up to us to get ourselves out of that by putting into our brains some inspiration, some motivation, some stories like mine, that, somebody who came from these circumstances to be able to overcome them. And maybe that kind of opens up other people's eyes to say, well, if he could do that from here, maybe I can do that. And I think if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling down on yourself, I think you need to check what you're putting into your brain. And you probably need to go to listen to some motivational podcast, or an inspirational book, or maybe turning the news off, and not watching everything horrible that's going on in the world. You got to check yourself. And again, things only have the meaning you're willing to give them. So, take a step back, take 100% complete responsibility for your own success, and start doing those things that are going to help you get to where you want to go. Don't become that victim.
Amen to that. All right, so Nelson, is there anything else you'd like to add? Do you have any final words for our viewers?
Yeah, hopefully your viewers were inspired and motivated by what we talked about today. Start now. You've got something in your mind, you've got something that you want to do. Start now and start where you're at. I think there's so many people out there, they want to wait until everything's perfect before they want to start. They want all the traffic lights to be green before they head out on their journey, and it never happens. And so now what they'll do is they'll kind of just set at that traffic light, that figurative traffic light, just letting their gas run out, their time run out, their inspiration run out, waiting for everything to be perfect. And it's not. So start where you're at. That's the only place you can start, and start now, and you'll figure it out as you go. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. If you don't do something, nothing's going to happen. So do it now and start where you're at.
Yeah, that is absolutely true, especially that part about the traffic light. I remember when we first started up this podcast, there were so many factors we wanted to make sure. This has to be greenlit, this has to be perfect, we have to make sure we have this kind of microphone, this audio, but that's never going to happen. And it's like slowly over time we've started to get those pieces together, but it's just, you have to start and not be afraid to be imperfect or to make any mistakes. Those are the points where you can grow from and learn.
Yeah, I mean, one of the philosophies that we teach at 6 months to success, and I got smarter, is we're after progress, not perfection. And I think there's so many people who let perfection prevent them from moving forward, because things aren't perfect. But they don't need to be perfect. They never will be perfect. So just look at progress and look to get a little bit better each day. And then what you'll find is in a year, you're way further ahead than if you would have stopped and waited for everything to be perfect.
Exactly, yeah. Where can people find you on social media, or if they wanted to join your program?
Yeah, so you can go to nelsontressler.com. Everything is there. The book, The Unlucky Sperm Club, You're Not a Victim of Your Circumstances, but a Product of Your Choices, is available everywhere books are sold, including Amazon. And if you like listening to your books, it's available on Audible. Uh, I Got Smarter, Goals Elevated is available at the App Store as well, both Apple and Android. And you can join that and use this program. It's $10 a month. If your goals aren't worth $10 a month or 10 minutes a day, you need bigger goals. And 6 months to success is where you will join a success group headed by me to use this program. You'll have a success partner that will help you stay, focused on your goals. And that is available at 6monthstosuccess.com, the number 6, the number 2, 6monthstosuccess.com.
Awesome. Well, Nelson, thanks so much for being a part of our time capsule. And thank you to our viewers for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and to follow Nelson on all his social media channels. And be sure to check out his website and his book. Tune in again next week to meet another amazing addition to our time capsule. See you all next time.